Let's say you're planning a hiking trip in an area you've never been, or maybe you're out on trail and you need to arrange for a pickup, a shuttle to pick you up when you reach the trailhead. Or maybe you've had an injury in your party and you need to figure out quickly how long it's going to take you to get out off trail. These are all times when it might be very useful to figure out how long it's going to take you to hike a certain distance. Now, there are a few different ways to do this, but the primary method is called the Naismith rule. The Naismith rule is named after William Naismith, one of the founders of the Scottish Mountaineering Club, and it basically says that hiking time is equal to the distance in miles divided by 3 plus the ascent in feet divided by 2,000. To explain what that means, I'm going to walk you through a sample hike that I'm planning with a group in Yosemite this fall. So on day 1 of this trip, we are traveling 7.47 miles with 2,253 feet of elevation gain. So we take 7.5, just to round things off, divided by 3, plus 2,253 divided by 2,000. So that's 2.5 plus 1.1265, so 3.625 or 3 hours and 40 minutes. If you're in the field and you need to figure this out without a calculator or anything, here's a pretty easy rule of thumb. 20 minutes for every mile you have left to hike, plus 15 minutes for every 500 feet of elevation gain. Another method is named after alpinist Werner Munter. Yes, the same Werner Munter that the Munter hitch is named after, if you know a lot about knots. And it basically says hiking time equals distance in kilometers plus ascent in meters divided by 100 over rate. Now, what is rate? Rate can be either 2 if you are doing off-trail travel, you're moving very slowly, bushwhacking. It could be 4 if you're hiking or skiing uphill, 6 if you're hiking downhill, 8 if you're skiing downhill. So there's some subjectivity to figuring out the rate. However, if we look at day 2 of this Yosemite hike, you can see it is 9.26 miles with 413 feet of elevation gain and 2,761 feet of elevation loss. In other words, it's downhill. Now remember, this is in kilometers and meters. So we want to take 14.91 kilometers plus 125.882 meters over 100 and divide the whole thing by a rate of 6. So that's going to be 2.695 or roughly 2 hours and 40 minutes. If you use CalTopo to plan your trips and you click on any line you've created, there is a little piece called the travel time. And if you click on that, that uses a variation of Munter's formula to figure out how long it's going to take you to hike that portion of the trail. The National Park Service also created a difficulty scale to gauge hikes specifically in Shenandoah National Park. And it's a little complicated, but let me walk you through it. So it is basically the square root of distance traveled in miles times twice the elevation gained in feet. If it's 50 or less, it's an easy hike and you're going to be able to move about 1.5 miles per hour. If it's 50 to 100, then it's a moderate hike. You should be able to move about 1.4 miles an hour. 100 to 150 is a moderately strenuous hike, which you should be able to move about 1.3 miles per hour. And 150 to 200 is a strenuous hike, and you should be able to hike about 1.2 miles an hour. And anything over 200 is an extremely difficult hike, and your speed is going to change a lot then, but you can usually count on about a mile an hour as far as planning and figuring out how far you'll be able to travel and how quickly. Now, many groups have put a lot of time and effort into factoring in the incline, factoring in the pack weight, and factoring in topography, things like that. I find it's easy just to keep it as simple as possible and just sort of use a one-size-fits-all. If you really want to get into the nitty-gritty on this, you can go down a very deep rabbit hole. But for me, I like to just keep it simple when I'm planning my hikes or figuring out how long it's going to take me to go a certain distance on trail. If you're planning a group trip, you're going to want to think about the duration of the hike, how many days it is in particular, especially with beginning hikers. They're going to move a little bit slowly on longer distance hikes. You're going to want to think about group size and like how many breaks you're going to want to take, how long everyone's going to want to spend together, how long your breaks are going to be. And you're also probably going to want to plan for the slowest hiker. A lot of times on many trips, there's going to be some beginning hiker who really doesn't move very quickly on trail, and you'll want to factor that in. Now, there are ways to increase your hiking speed, of course. You can get in better shape. You can pack lighter. You can practice. Just get out on trail. Practice. Hike as much as you can. Hike steeper inclines. Hike longer distances. And over time, like with most things, the more you practice it, the better you'll get at it. And so that efficiency of motion is going to help you move a little bit faster. Packing a little bit lighter is going to help you move a little bit faster. But in general, we're still going to use the Naismith's rule or the Munter method to figure out our hiking pace. So I hope that helps you plan your next trip, or helps you when you're out on trail and you need to figure out how long it's going to take you to go a certain distance. If you got value out of this video, click that like button, and hey, let's do this again sometime.